Hello viewers, a very good evening to all of you. And in this video, our prime focus will be on a short story written by Kenyan writer Grace Ogot. The short story title is The Green Leaves, and this story revolves around the African society, African tribe, and their way of life, their social life, their custom, their religion, and their belief system. And this short story, The Green Leaves, it is written by a Kenyan author, nurse, journalist, politician, and diplomat, Grace Emily Ogot. So, from her occupation, we have known that she is a woman of multiple talent. She was born in 1930 and died recently in 2015. She wrote in her own native African language too, and that native language is called Luo and English. Her father was the first man from her tribe who took Western education. Okay, and her prominent works include The Island of Tears, Land Without Thunder, Alu Code Apul Apul. My pronunciation may not be up to the standard as this is written in her own mother tongue or in her own native language. Okay, and if I'm wrong, then correct me. And you should to check about the Luo language. Okay, and this short story, it is taken from her 1968 collection of short stories called Land Without Thunder. And most of the short stories in this collection are loosely based on tales that her grandmother told her as a young girl while growing up in rural Western Kenya, Africa, or African continent. And through this work, the writer has tried to illustrate the negative effects of colonialism and how colonialism had affected on indigenous people's culture, lifestyle, belief system, custom, heritage, legacy in East Africa. That all things have been interwoven by the writer through this short story. And needless to say, how colonialist power had tried to rule brutally in every continent of the world. Okay, and they had also ruled in the African continent. And this story is to related with one of the colonialist rulers' connections or their relationship with the native people of Africa, and how white people had tried to impose their custom, their belief system, their philosophy on the African tribe. African tribes or the people of Africa, they were living their own distinct culture, ritual, religion, and various things related to their lifestyle that were solely there. But when the British or when the white colonialists arrived in their land, then how they have tried to impose their things on the African people. That thing we will see or we will explore through this short story. And the colonialist power, they had tried to impose their law, their custom, their administrative structure on African tribe, and it had ultimately eradicated African tribes' own traditions, their own customary laws. Clear? In the short story, The Green Leaves, Niagar is a rich farmer and he has three wives according to custom. Means Niagar is the protagonist of this short story and he has three wives because according to African custom, a man can have more than one wife if that man can manage it or if he is rich enough. Okay, and one night when he was sleeping, at that time he heard that he heard some kinds of noise, and he had also heard that somebody was approaching towards his house. And when he heard this thing, then he got up from his bed and he looked for one of his wives. As we have already known that he has three wives. So one of his wives' name was Niamundhe, and she was the favorite one to our protagonist Niagar. And after some time, he had witnessed that a small group was chasing by another big group. Means some people were following some people. Okay, and that big crowd or that big mob, that mob was his own villagers, and they were chasing some 5 or 6 people. Okay, and now the protagonists had no idea who were they. As the story goes on, then only we will know. So after some time, he got to know that those were cattle thieves or ox thieves. Those were. And when he got to know, and then he too made up his mind to join with his villagers group to catch them, to catch the thieves. Okay. Then the two thieves were caught by the villagers, and the rest thieves, they had able to run away from the mob. And between these two thieves, one thief was he was able to he was able to hurt one of the villagers. Okay, and that was also the narrator's friend, and his name was Omoron, and he was wounded by a knife. And one that person who had wounded him, he ran away to a river. Okay, now only one thief was left, and he was caught by the mob, and all the mob were beating him mercilessly, to set an example that if you do this kind of thing, then you means your consequences will be dire. Okay, dire. And all the people of the village, especially men, okay, they had collectively beaten that thief, and that the thief was half dead due to harsh beatings, and he was about to die. And when people were still beating him at that time, their clans, their tribes, their clan chief or their tribe chiefs, he came up, and he stopped the villagers that you should not beat him anymore. And when the village chief told them like that, then all stop. Okay, that's the power of village chief or the tribe chiefs in a particular tribe. Okay, and what had happened then? What happened then? The village chief, his name was Olello, and he interviewed them, and he told them that they should not kill him, because if they did, then that thief soul would disturb them in their means that soul would come and disturb their village. That kind of thing was said by the what was his name? Yes, Olello, or the village chief. And after some time, they had got to know that this thief that had been beaten by all the villagers, he might have dead, or he might have gone to means to to sleep, or to forever sleep, means to dead. Then what happened? Then people thought that he might have dead, and all the villagers, they had tried to collect some green leaves. And when they had collected some green leaves, and by that with that green leaves, they had tried to cover that thief's body. Okay, as they had beaten him so harshly, and he was like a half dead person, so they assumed that he might have been dead, so they tried to cover the dead body. But that day or that night, they did not want to bury him. They thought that they would come tomorrow morning, and they would do their final thing, means they would bury the dead body next day with the presence of all the villagers or all the tribesmen. And this I have already told you. Consequently, the villagers plucked some green leaves and covered the dead body with the green leaves immediately. But we have already known that this story's protagonist, his name was Niagar, and he was also with the mob. So when people have decided that we will bury the dead body tomorrow, then after that, all have decided to return to their respective homes. Then everybody went home, even our protagonist Niagar, he too came back. But after returning to home, his mind was telling him something else. Okay, and he couldn't able to sleep, and he did not lie on his bed. Instead, he planned to go back to the thief or to the dead body to search money, because he thought that if they were cattle thieves or ox thieves, that means they might have money, and they might have sold that thieves sold that ox and received money. Okay, so he thought that that person might have got some money from the share. Okay, and upon reaching at the dead body, he had some inner fights whether he should do what he was intending. Means, as we all know, when we try to do something illegal or something that is not morally correct, then our mind, it tends to give us some signal or message that you are not doing the good thing or you are not doing the right thing. Means that is our conscience. Okay, our conscience always tries to stop us from doing anything that is immoral or anything that is considered as not good in our life, family, tradition, and society. Okay, so just like that, Niagar to struggle with his conscience, with his inner mind, that should he do what he was intending to do, Okay, and as we all know, he was a rich farmer. He had many cattle. Also, he had three wives, and he had a good family. Should he do? Should he proceed? That kind of thing was going on inside his brain. But his greed has superseded all that positive things. Okay. Soon, his greed had overcome him, and he was searching for money from the dead body's pocket, search, and the body itself. But he failed to get any money from the dead body. So he thought that the thief, might have hidden his money near the neck or on the soldier. So he went on to search on the thief's neck. At that time, he has also felt that this dead body was not so dead, means that dead body was still warm, means some warm temperature was there. So he felt that he might have died not too long ago. But in reality, the dead body or that thief was not dead. That was the reality, and he was unaware of it. He was lost in his greed. Okay, this is the example the writer is trying to here showcase, that how greed can destruct you, how greed can change a person, or how greed can do harm in our life. And that when he was trying to check on the thief's neck, at that time the dead body, okay, wait, he moved, means the thief moved, and that by moving he hit, he slammed, and he smacked Niagara, and he ultimately killed Niagara. Okay, and when he done killing, at that time, that thief had covered his body with the same green leaves that was covered by the villagers on him, assuming that he was dead. And in the next morning, the villagers, they have decided that now they will inform this thing to their colonial power or colonial authority. Why? Because as we have already discussed, that in African society, the many colonial powers, they came and they began to rule on them, and their village was to under a colonial authority. And if a crime is committed, then that person is taken to the court and by the police authority, and it will be according to the rules and regulations of the colonial power. Okay, their own customary power is no longer valid now. Okay, this thing was going on, and so they have decided that, okay, now last night we all had killed that thief, and we will inform this thing to the authority, to the police authority. And when they had gone to the police, then they have decided that as we will say that we all have collectively killed that thief. So in that way, we all will be acquitted, and we will not be taken to the prison by the authority. This kind of thing was discussed by the village people. Then when they went to the police, then police was very furious. He was very angry to hear that they had killed a thief, and then he told them that how could you say that that person was a thief, and why, who gave you the power to kill them, and this thing you have to prove in the court. You will be taken to the court, and if you are not able to prove, then the court will sentence you to prison. No one will be left. All will be taken to prison. This kind of thing were said by the police. Okay, then they came back to the spot where the dead body was kept, and there the villagers had tried to unearth the dead body by clearing the green leaves. Okay, and when they cleared the dead body, then they were very amazed, and they were surprised to see that it is not that thief that they killed last night. Rather, it was their own tribesman, and that is our protagonist Niagara. Okay, and they were utterly shocked, and not a single words were spoken by the villagers then. And when this scene was created, then the police had tried to calm the community or the tribesmen or of that village, that you should not worry, we will do our investigation, you don't have to worry, you just go back to your home. This dead body will be taken to our place, and it will be the post-mortem of it will be done how it was killed, who means what is the reason behind its murder or death. This all kind of thing will be examined. This kind of thing were declared or said by the police officers. But Niagara's wife were not so delighted, and obviously no one will be delighted when her husband is no more. And her that favorite wife, she was so depressed. She was utterly disappointed, and at that time that the police officer to the means then at that time that police officer had told her that you should not worry, we will do the post-mortem and we will get you back. And while means when she heard that, and she was very angry, and when she told them that can you bring back my husband alive, can you, this kind of thing was said by her, and that the body was taken by the authority, and in that way the story ends. So here, through this story, the writer has tried to depict that how greed can take your life, or how dangerous your feeling of greed can be. This is number one. Number second is how colonial power has eradicated African tribes' own ritual, own cultural heritage, legacy, and their own customary laws. They had their own laws. If someone will do some kind of crime, then or stealing, then he will or she will be punished according to their law. They had that law. But when the West came, or sorry, when the colonial authority came, at that time they had imposed their own. They had imposed their own rule, and that rule was not similar with their own customary law. And they were living like this since centuries, since the inception. And now they had come, they had started to rule in the African community, and now they are imposing this kind of thing. And that custom is utterly foreign, or that are utterly alien for this people, this African tribe. They have lost their own legacy. This kind of thing they have tried to, means the writer has tried to depict here. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much for watching the video, and I hope you have enjoyed the video. And if you have enjoyed, then you can do one thing, as you all know, share it with your friends, so that they too learn from this. Thank you so much. Bye bye.